When it comes to social media, the world all of a sudden becomes much bigger. You can follow pretty much anybody from anywhere in the world with just one click. Platforms like Twitter and Facebook allow users from all around the globe to follow politicians' ideas from the tip of their fingers. Digital technologies make it possible for average citizens to become more involved in political decisions. By the end of this short documentary, you will have a better understanding on why and how politicians benefit from the media industry, more specifically from their use of social media. It will also help understand the relationship between citizens and politicians and how they interact on social platforms such as Twitter and Facebook. Equipped with social media, citizens no longer have to be passive consumers of political party propaganda, government spin, or mass media news, but are instead actually enabled to challenge these discourses, share alternative perspectives, and publish their own opinions. Platforms such as Facebook constitute digital network architecture for people to connect and create overlapping social networks. Citizens will be exposed to a wide range of messages they do not actively seek out. What they're exposed to depends to a great extent on their interests and behavior of the ones they are connected to. For example, who they choose to be friends with on Facebook may already be consistent with their environment or their ideology, or may challenge what they already agree on. Let's start with our first topic, the economic aspects behind the social media industry and politics. On one hand, we have to understand that online technologies significantly lower the cost of participation for citizens both in terms of time and effort. It is certainly easier to access multiple online news sources via the internet at any time and place compared with traditional media. On the other hand, why do almost every major American and Canadian politician have a Twitter account? Turns out that candidates who are active on social media receive more funding. For example, 36 months after Twitter adoption, politicians who adopted Twitter received more donations in terms of the number and amount than those who did not have a Twitter account. The reason behind it is that social media has become a political tool in shaping the relationships between politicians and their donors. Also, it could even revolutionize how politicians raise money for their campaigns. Let's take, for example, Obama's extraordinary success at internet fundraising in the 2008 presidential election. In 2008, candidates raised more than $1.6 billion, an increase of more than 149% over the amount raised by candidates in 2004. The internet, along with social media technologies, has often been identified as one of the most important contributing factors to the increase in fundraising in 2008. Research proves that politicians should in fact continue to embrace social media because more and more people turn to Facebook and Twitter to learn about politics. Facebook, the most popular social networking site in the United States in 2010, had an estimated 125 million active users. The most popular 10% of candidates had about 7 times more supporters on Facebook than the least popular 10%. Of the candidates who had profiles on Twitter, the most popular 10% had followings 18 times larger than the least popular 10%. Now let's discuss the political power aspect of the social media industry. Social media has a big impact on voting participation, and we just saw how big of an impact they can actually have during elections due to its immense numbers of social media users. During the last Canadian elections, social media played a big role in encouraging youth to vote for Trudeau during his campaign. 1.39 million people follow our newly elected Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Twitter. The young-looking candidate's image may have boosted young participants' interest and motivation to seek out more cues to evaluate him more accurately. The fact that a candidate at a young age was highly acknowledged even by older citizens may have made the candidate look trustworthier. Our Prime Minister keeps using these social media platforms still while in office. Trudeau stays in the public eye by constantly staying active on his Twitter account by posting pictures, videos, and updates of his political agenda. A few months ago, he was the first Prime Minister to answer questions from Canadians directly on Twitter. He took all first 100 questions from citizens and answered them right away. Tweeters had to use #First100 to connect with the Prime Minister of Canada. A hashtag is a term assigned to a tweet that organizes discussion around specific topics or events and aids in searching. Hashtags can be beneficial for politicians as they allow party communicators to extend their messages beyond followers, which gives more reach to their power. These hashtags allow party communicators to contribute to a conversation about different topics, political or otherwise. Again, it shows that the social media industry has truly changed how we communicate with our politicians. Indeed, one does not have to be a Twitter user to follow the conversation because hashtags are visible to anyone. Hashtags are searchable through Twitter, Google, and trending sites. Let's talk about how some may want to take advantage of that power. When considering network-wide placement, those who traditionally hold power, media and politicians, maintain power. They're able to reach millions of people with the click of a button. This means they have the power to influence public opinion. Katz and Lazarsfeld argue that mass media influence a small segment of the population, opinion leaders, who then influence the wider public. Politicians know about this theory. They know that reaching 70 million people with one message will be difficult. This is why they target opinion leaders. An opinion leader is able to influence his or her close personal ties by exerting social pressure and social support. They're important political players because they transmit messages to a wider public who do not choose to access messages directly from the political elite. The findings show that opinion leaders are much more likely than others to follow parties and politicians on Facebook. For opinion leaders, motives such as an easy way to get information, meeting other supporters, and wanting to discuss with the politician were the most important. Therefore, politicians understand this phenomenon and have teams to help them strategically target the opinion leaders. Sometimes they have to resort to unethical practices. In times of political elections, the stakes are high, and advocates may try to support their cause by active manipulation of social media. For example, altering the number of followers can affect a viewer's conclusion about candidate popularity. The more followers, the more attention. Apparently, it's easy to be manipulated. There are many ways to manipulate the system. Propagandists exploited a loophole introduced by the feature of including real-time information from social networks in the top 10 results of web searches. They ensured that their message was often visible by repeatedly posting the same tweet. After demonstrating these arguments, it's pretty clear that social media has influential advantages for politicians. Let's get to our last topic, how social media is now becoming the primary source for political information. The use of social media, such as Twitter and Facebook, helps citizens become more informed. Opinions become better informed, and participants are more likely to understand and recall arguments for and against many issues as compared to people who do not participate in discussions. This encourages citizens to become opinion leaders and to engage in online debates. 74% of internet users went online both to communicate about politics and to obtain news during the 2008 US elections. This not only makes them more knowledgeable, but it also gives them confidence. People regard this kind of electronic forum as a credible place to try out new ideas and even to change old ideas. Idea exchanging on political matters challenge politicians. Having an ongoing conversation forces politicians to be better prepared to questions of better informed citizens. In this sense, social media use may be highly empowering and psychologically rewarding by making the public feel more engaged in the political process. New media play a symbolically empowering role for the average citizen. By now, you should have an idea of how and why the social media industry is beneficial to politicians and citizens when it comes to politics. Politicians try to stay active on Facebook and Twitter in order to keep financial support for their campaigns. They target opinion leaders in order to influence more people than they would have never reached otherwise. Social media has truly changed the face of politics. Everything is instantaneous and at the tip of our fingers. We must try to stay active in political discussions or else they will rerun for us.